In this video, we're going to talk about 1.4 Objective 2, where we determine whether statements about the validity of statistical studies make sense. Question 1 asks us to decide whether the following statement makes sense or is clearly true or does not make sense or is clearly false, and explain our reasoning. The TV survey got more than 1 million phone responses, so it's clearly more valid than the survey by professional pollsters based on interview with only a few hundred people. No, that doesn't make sense. The 8 guidelines for evaluating a statistical study need to be reviewed before one study can be called more valid than another. And we already see potential issues for bias here with a phone-in interview. We already talked about that there is bias there just because the response is voluntary. So that doesn't mean that there's not going to be bias in the other reporting, but big sample sizes don't necessarily mean that you have better survey methods. Decide whether the statement below makes sense or does not make sense and explain your choice. A pollster plans to improve survey results by only conducting polls in which the margin of error is 0. We've talked about this question before, that statement does not make sense because a margin of error of 0 implies that there is no uncertainty in a survey result. This could happen only if the entire population was surveyed rather than just a sample. So we wouldn't say that they are surveying, we would say that they were taking a census in that case. So let's decide whether the following statement makes sense or is clearly true or does not make sense or is clearly false, and explain your reasoning. My experiment proved beyond a doubt that vitamin C can reduce the severity of colds because I controlled the experiment carefully for every possible confounding variable. Statistics does not set out to prove things. The statement does not make sense. It's not always easy to discover confounding variables. But I just would be careful for you to make cause and effect statements like that. That's really hard to do. And we'll talk more about that with hypothesis testing when we get there later. But typically statisticians are out to prove a hypothesis false rather than looking to prove something to be true. There's other methods that we use in science for that with the scientific method. But statistics usually is not the way to prove something. It's usually the way to disprove something. So we usually reject or just fail to reject a hypothesis in statistics. We're very skeptical people as statisticians. So be careful about anything where a statistician tells you that they've proven something to be true or shown a causality relationship. That's really hard to do with statistics. All right, we'll come back next time in 1.4 Objective 3. See you for the next video.